Machinist Joe is what they call him, and he has lived and seen it all.
I'm a lucky man.
But luck has little to do with his success in life.
Favorite word? Dedication. My favorite word.
Means a lot to you, huh?
Sure does.
93 years old this May.
On my 24th birthday, 1945, the war was over in Europe. Quite a birthday present.
With nearly 60 years in the Machinists Union, he walks the walk and talks the talk. For him, being union is the only way to be.
I am proud. I'm proud as heck of being a machinist, and you know, they treat me well. You're saying, well, yeah, union, so what? Well, look, it's just like my flowers. I got a lot of roses around my unit here, about 2 dozen rose bushes. You know, roses are like people. If you don't take care of them, if I don't fertilize my roses and water them and prune them, they're going to ignore me. They're like people. If you treat them right, give them what you think, what's necessary for their well-being, they're going to treat you right. That's exactly the way I look at it.
And taking care of the roses in his life, like his wife Teresa and his beautiful family, is exactly what he's been doing. His story of compassion for others begins at a time in history where counting on your fellow man literally meant life or death. Joe's military career began in March of 1943, when he volunteered for the draft and was sent to Little Rock, Arkansas for basic. Quite literally, Joe jumped into the next phase of his life that would change him forever.
And as we were going through the school there, a couple of lieutenants came from the airborne, and they said, we're recruiting men for to be paratroopers. And I said, well, what's paratroopers? But you said you get paid $50 a month. Now, we were getting $50 a month, so this is a 100% increase, going from 50 to 100. I thought, boy, that's not too bad a deal if I can just pass this physical stuff. So I said, well, we'll give you a chance.
Proud to still be able to fit into his uniform today, Joe became a paratrooper with the 101st Airborne Division.
It was 5 weeks that you had to train, and in the 5 weeks, the first 4 weeks you were doing mostly physical, and the 5th week you made your first parachute jump. Now you got to remember, 1943, not very many of us in this country had ever been in an airplane, including me. So the first 13 times I ever went up in an airplane, I jumped out of it.
But his most important jump would come on June 6, 1944, when this Screaming Eagle parachuted into Normandy on D-Day. He still vividly recalls that night.
And you're coming in, this is at night, and all I could hear was the terrible noise of all the props. The planes are close together, flying, going over the coast of Normandy, and as you approach the coast, when you approach the coast of any country, the air turbulence increases because you're going from water to land, and it increases. So then the planes are going like this. When you jump, it looks like the land, it doesn't feel like you're going down, it feels like the trees and the landscape is coming up to meet you. And I landed in a pasture right beside the colonel of the 502 Regiment.
On Utah Beach, Joe came face to face with the horrors of war.
First thing I did, I come around the corner and I saw this horse and wagon. The wagon was tipped over, and there was a German soldier laying there. And his brains were outside the skull of his head. He'd been killed a couple of minutes before that. The first dead man I ever saw was a German soldier. That day I would see many, many more. Lot was our own troops. What do you think he says when he's going to die? You have any answers? Remember, a lot of us are 18, 19. I was a little bit older. I was 22. They say, Mama. They're calling for their mother. It's got to tear your heart, Ellen. The Germans saying the same thing. They call for their mother. War is a terrible thing. If they could ever depict, or how should I say this, if they could ever record the smell of war, nobody would ever go to another movie about war. Absolutely you're scared. You got to remember that one of the prime factors of life is trying to protect your own life. When somebody's trying to take your life, are you scared? You better believe you're scared. You wouldn't be human if you weren't. You're frightened to death.
But there's no better teacher than war to show how important it is to take care of your fellow man.
Got to remember, paratroopers are a special breed. Why? Because they're the ones that go through extra training and they have this camaraderie. Esprit de corps, it's called. And by gosh, you're going to save your buddy paratrooper at all costs if you can. If he's wounded, you're going to do your best to grab a hold of him, get him out of the way of the fire, and try and see that he gets his wounds attended to.
Honorably discharged on December 31st, 1945, with a new wife and a young daughter, Joe went to work at Parker Pen, where he spent close to 30 years as a journeyman toolmaker, a trade that still awes him today.
I must have been about 38 or something when I started at Parker, right? And I enjoyed working there because I got in the tool room and I was a journeyman. So we in the tool room had a little bit better advantage with the company because we had a profit sharing plan. And the profit sharing plan was when the company made, if they rolled a lot of gold, there was a lot of gold involved in the pen and pencil industry at that time. And when they rolled a lot of gold, that meant that they were selling a higher priced item.
And under his machinist contract, this American hero lived the American dream.
I enjoyed my work every minute of my life. I enjoyed being a tool maker. Okay, well, thank you very much for your support.
Today, he fights labor's cause to give the workers of this generation everything he was able to gain in the past.
My compassion nowadays for the average worker in today's workforce. Why? Because most of the companies, they don't have pension plans. They'd say, you got a 401k or you're on your own, you know? Well, I have to tell you this. It's no secret. The union negotiated my pension.
They all know him as Machinist Joe. There's not a phone bank, a rally, or an organizing drive in the San Diego area that Joe doesn't jump into. Like when he recently rallied for domestic workers at the state capitol.
When I'm outside the governor's office, I'm screaming my head off. We're saying, no more cuts, no more cuts. And they were trying to cut programs to the needy people of California. And we were there to let the legislators know. And I think our voices were heard because as the legislation has passed over the last couple of years, it's been more, shall I say, compassionate toward the people that really need the help.
Hello, my name is Joe and I'm a volunteer.
You can retire from your job, but not from the union. That's Joe's motto. An easy-to-please gentleman.
Tell me what your favorite food is.
Peas.
Really?
Yeah, I like peas. Don't I, Teresa?
Who doesn't realize he is the reason they call it the greatest generation. An American hero and patriot who promises to never stop fighting for the working men and women of this country.
We don't always win, but by God, we give it our best shot. Yeah, you know, you try, and sure, you're not going to win all of them. You're going to lose a lot of them. But by gosh, if you keep trying, at least you have the advantage of knowing you did your best. That's the way I look at it.
For the Machinist News Network, I'm Deirdre Knapson.